Last time. Like, are we going to be sent off to space or something?
We are live.
So am I the only one that finds countdowns like that tension-inducing? Was that intentional?
Good afternoon, everybody. Dafna and I are just making a little bit of fun because our production guy, Tim Meggert, has given us a 10-second countdown to the live stream of today. And it felt like a rocket launch, didn't it, Dafna?
I think so.
So it's 1 p.m., 1:03 p.m. CET, Frankfurt time. We're Accelerator Frankfurt. This is our last session of this Wave8 program, last session before the big demo day. Demo day will be live stream 16th of December at 1 p.m. CET. You can sign up. There'll be a link after this video is posted at the bottom. You can sign up there, join our Zoom chat, meet these wonderful ladies, ask them questions and interact with them. Without further ado, today we're going to be practicing our pitch. And I have the honor of having here with us Dafna Melchior from Jerusalem. Dafna, you're the second time with us now. You've been in Frankfurt with us. You traveled all the way to Frankfurt, hosted a wonderful demo day for us and prepared the startups for the pitch session in front of some 200 people. This time it's a little bit different. It's online. How has that changed things? How have you seen? I know you've been very busy in Israel online nowadays. So tell us a little bit on that, and as well give us a short intro about yourself.
Sure. So the pleasure and the honor are entirely mine, Ram. As soon as Ram invited me, I was so happy to be here with you. And I'm super excited to meet this group. And I'm sure you're doing wonderful things. And I look forward to hearing about them so that I can help you clarify how you tell all sorts of stakeholders that will help you realize and manifest these important things that you're creating in the world. The main difference that I'm seeing with regard to working online is that sometimes it takes even more of an effort to get the attention of an audience so that it doesn't go kind of comatose from sitting for too long in front of Zoom conversations. So that puts the pressure on us, the presenters, in different situations. But I think that in all other respects, it just means that we need to double down and make sure that we're using best practices as we would in any in-person presentation opportunity with regard to body language and facial expressions and effective use of our voice. And most importantly, customizing the content of what we're talking about to the specific audience that we're speaking to so that they feel that we're being very respectful of their time and very relevant to what they're interested in, so that hopefully we can create those win-win opportunities, which only work if what we're offering is actually what they're looking for. So I'm seeing plenty of that. I also think that post-COVID, the biggest change that we'll see is that meeting in person is going to come with a premium. And people are going to be more discerning about when it's worth their time to travel, when they're willing to commute, because there are all sorts of uses for which online communication is perfectly effective. And it starts the minute you switch it on, and it ends the minute you're done with it. And there's no overhead time. So in that regard, I'm sure that, like me, you guys are making the most of it. With regard to myself, for those of you who haven't yet had the opportunity to meet me, I have been in this particular space of working with researchers in academia and entrepreneurs in the tech ecosystem for close to 20 years now. And it's always about helping people understand, okay, if there's a big opportunity ahead, like a demo day, which is the stepping stone to reaching those investors that you're looking for, what are the most important things, top priority, that you can say to that target audience in order to get your main message across within the time that you have allotted, right? How many minutes do they have each to present on demo day?
They'll have 5 minutes, and then we'll have about 3 minutes plus minus for Q&A. But the 5 minutes we really want to be strict with, yeah.
Right. So then for each of you, it's a question of what are the most important, relevant 5 minutes that you have for investors, right? In order, if you ask yourselves going into this 3 main questions: who is it for? What is it for? And what's my main message to them? So the who is it for, I'm answering for you. investors. And as we get closer to the date, he can probably supply you with more specific information regarding who RSVPs, their participation in it. And you can even customize more specifically to those investors that you know are going to be present and what's most interesting to them about your offering, right? That's the who it's for, which is very different from what you're each going to be saying about your startups to other forums, to other opportunities, right? That's the who it's for. The what it's for, if all of you are in fact already ripe for investment, then that's the what it's for, right? And that'll be your call to action at the end of it. We are currently raising a round of X amount of money with which we are going to do 1, 2, and 3. Sometimes we assume that the audience already knows what it is that we're looking for and what the purpose of this presentation is. So we kind of end with, okay, thank you very much. Questions? And that's a missed opportunity. So instead, I invite us all to always end our presentation with a very explicit call to action that invites the audience to take the next step that we're inviting them to take. It's voluntary. If it's not for them, they won't take it. And fine, we got more experience. And who knows, maybe that audience that we presented to will say something nice about our offering, and we'll talk about how relevant it is to a colleague of theirs. Very acceptable in Israel, right? If you're pitching to investors and it's not specifically within their portfolio, your field, or your specific offering, but they found you and what you're offering amazing, they'll tell somebody that they know who is looking for those type of startups all about it. Why wouldn't they, right? It's a feather in their own cap. So clarity pays off in that regard, even if that's not the particular audience turns out afterwards. So who it's for and what's your main message. Let's not kid ourselves. In 5 minutes, the best you can do is get across one main message. So I want you each to think now in terms of, if you give that 5-minute pitch and the investors in the audience remember only one thing that you want them the next day to go tell a colleague of theirs, or an hour later to text a friend or a family member or somebody that it might be of relevance to them, what would you like that one message to be about you and your company? All right, and that's your main message. And then you're building your 5 minutes in support of how to get that message across, so that if they only remember one thing, let it be that. Okay.
Excellent. Yeah, so the ladies have been practicing in the past week to get this 5-minute pitch. We'll let them do it uninterrupted. Obviously, then they have 1 week to go from this session. This session will be on YouTube. It will be recorded. They can go back to it, listen to your comments, and start really perfecting for sure. So should we get started?
Please.
Excellent. Who wants to go first? Raise your hand.
Warm, loving environment, no Shark Tank, I promise.
Okay, so we have Anu with us. Anu, excellent, very brave.
Oh, yes.
So you, while you're opening your slides, sharing your screen, just give Dafna a little bit of background, where you are, who you are. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. My background is 20 plus years in insurance and finance in Northern Europe mainly. I've been heading legal and compliance departments in Northern Europe. Some 7 years ago, I got a bit bored. I started mentoring startups. And then a couple of years back, I actually jumped onto my first startup, and I was doing some pro bono work for a couple of other startups. So this is now my kind of fourth, maybe, attempt. And I'm going actually back to my roots in insurance. And this is around insurtech and how to kind of digitalize and modernize insurance distribution and features.
Go ahead, open the screen and.
Absolutely. Let me see now. Oh dear. I'm hoping, for some reason, my computer is now not absolutely in line with me. Let me see. I hope this is now the right one. I believe that I've had only one of these. There. I hope this is now showing
Yep.
At your screens. Perfect. So digital lifestyle protection insurance is what I'm talking about. We have here a family. The mother of the family is Anna, 36 years old, is working in different projects, 4 of them for the time being, and they just happily ended a kind of buying process of a new home. They're just decorating for Christmas, and Anna is still a bit concerned within all these happy decoration moods about the current COVID situation. She's a bit afraid of the losing of some of her jobs, or potentially if some of the family members get ill, especially she or her husband. They got the mortgage online, which is very usual today. They never went to the bank. And what Anna has been thinking is that the last time they bought their first apartment with her husband is that they got offered an insurance that covers their potential unemployment or illness, temporary or long-term, or even death. And now she never even saw an offer. And she's trying to find that online, but she can't. What's the kind of problem here is that today, the distribution for this type of product, it only happens through the face-to-face contacts at banks when selling mortgages, or through finance companies who are selling alternatively different loans for cars and so on, or loan aggregators. But you can't buy this product by yourself. So here is the biggest problem that we're going to fix with our team. What we're doing is we're offering a first competitive product to the market. Currently, the distribution, as I mentioned, is only done through banks, finance companies, and the product is designed for the banks to match their sales channels, to match their needs, to match their branding purposes, but not really offering the end consumer's needs, not helping Anna to fix her situation with 4 different project works. The product is really from designed from 90s, so it's not helping too much the needs of today in different job environment. The product is sold online, and there is a definite advantage for a guided sales process for insurance companies, which are this complicated. It is a requirement that you have a good quality sales process. The underwriting of the product is online and instant, so you don't need to send back and forth different documents. The product is flexible, so you can design it for your own needs. It's not a pre-packaged product. And the sales process is standardized, which helps the challenges of the current face-to-face process, where the bank person is the one responsible for selling this product. That is not really their main focus. The terms are clear and simple, so people do understand what they actually are buying and understand what they should be claiming for if the unfortunate happens. Currently, there is no direct-to-consumer access to the product. We are going to be the first one to offer that. We are going to use search engine optimization and growth hacking to reach the customers, and we are offering the customers access outside their own lenders to the product. The product is really designed to fit for more consumers than today, where more than half of the people are left outside the products because of how they are designed and underwritten. So we are going to open up the opportunity for more people to actually have an access to this product and today's products. The go-to-market strategy is direct to consumer, not through mainly not through lenders or other distributors. We're using, as I mentioned, search engine optimization, growth hacking, and we're targeting the customers of lenders who are selling different loans. Let it be mortgages, car loans, credit cards, consumer loans, and so on. We have been discussing with few distribution partners who are optimized for our kind of disrupted model of selling this. Not really banks or finance houses, but other types of distributors that could be helpful. And the current lenders who are selling their own products, actually, they must mention also any competitive insurances by law, so that helps us to distribute the product as well. Current competitors are big insurance, global insurance giants like AXA, Cardiff, and also the in-house captives of the banks like in Finland for OP, Nordea, Aktia, and so on. But also the loan aggregators.
Please continue.
Yeah. Also, loan aggregators are distributing this. We have the most experienced team in Northern Europe with more than 50 plus years experience from risk, legal, underwriting, business developments with the core team. We're offering 3 times growth in both the products and the revenue. And we have in current status, we have everything ready to be done by year end. And what we're now looking for is to find consumer advocates for the new sales channel and also insurance partners in Europe. Thank you.
So it was just over 6 minutes. But Dafna, the floor is yours. Take a
All right, amazing. Anna, thank you so much for agreeing to be first and for taking the lead. And I'm sure that all of you are leaders in participating in this program and in your entrepreneurship. If you could go all the way back to the beginning of the slides, I just want to point out specific examples of things. So one thing that I think would be really important here, you're obviously very confident and you're bringing your excellent background and your experience to the table, and that's all wonderful, and that's a clear strength. The slides are beautiful, so the aestheticism is really great. There are just a few places in which maybe I would cut down on the amount of text. For all of you, I would recommend a dichotomy between the type of slides that you send. You'll want to have 2 versions of your investor deck. The kind that you show, which is minimal text, because you don't want to create a conflict for the people watching your presentation between reading as opposed to listening to you. In an in-person presentation, like a pitch, you want them to be listening to you, and every additional word on the slide detracts from their ability to focus on listening while they're busy reading. And you certainly don't want anything to be there. Well, it's there, and if they feel like it and if they have time, they'll read it. If it's there, their eyes are going to magnet to it, and then they won't be listening at that time. So the fewer words on the screen for an in-person presentation, the better. The kind that you send somebody, of course, that needs to be fuller text unless there's an audio guide that goes with it, because that needs to be self-explanatory when they're reading that by themselves in their office. Okay, so less.
Which slide did you want? This or next, or?
This is great. All right, so this was great to use, and I love the idea of a grabbing opening. I certainly recommend to all of you that you start with a grabbing opening story. The thing is that you need to decide how quickly and how short you can make that story so that it gets us very quickly to the point. The purpose of the grabbing opening story is to explain to us what the problem is that you solve with your product. So the idea of using a concrete example of a family is a great example. What I understood from the story that you told was that the biggest problem is that they bought online insurance and they don't understand what the details of it are, and now they don't have a way of getting those details. Is that the problem that you're addressing, the ability for transparency in details of online purchase of insurance?
No, not really. So I need to improve that part clearly.
So explain to me, just define for me in one sentence, what problem do you solve with your startup?
Access to an online product.
Access to an online product. Why do people currently experience a difficulty in accessing an online insurance product?
It doesn't exist.
There is no such thing. So who you listed as your competitors, what is different between what they offer as a digital product and what you're talking about?
So basically, this is the one that they offer. It's through face-to-face sales and only lender-linked product.
Is there a legal limitation on offering something that would be entirely digital?
No,
there isn't.
It just doesn't.
So how is
happen.
it that that doesn't exist yet?
Because this is very old-fashioned market, and well, I can give you a long explanation or short, but basically the insurance companies who are doing this kind of product, they have not been innovative enough to actually bring this online. They don't know how to do it, and it's not.
Just a second, Anu. I think one thing I noted to myself is that you did not define that specific type of product. That's why Dafna is perhaps also, and many others, you need to define, because there are insurance products online. But
yes,
this
but
is this the first life insurance? Is this the first digital life insurance?
No, it's the kind of so these are
you need to name it. You need to define.
Is it
the
disability?
product.
You were talking about
lifestyle.
Their ability to work. Is it like disability insurance?
This is basically lifestyle protection insurance that actually covers your income, your lifestyle, in case you end up being unemployed or sick or your spouse dies or something.
So it's a specific kind of insurance that people tend to purchase for the purpose of, if God forbid, they would be
Repaying their
injured in a
loans.
way that would impact their ability to maintain their current
Yes.
lifestyle and their
Yes.
current level of the way they like to live, right?
Yes.
Then they would use this insurance.
Yes. So this is
Okay.
basically only for repaying their mortgages, car loans, other types of loans.
Okay. Okay.
So-
So then the question is, if you're the first one and the only one to offer it, right, online, then why not take that crown of we will be the first ones to offer online digital lifestyle protection insurance,
Yeah.
right? If you're the first one offering it, wow, celebrate it, own it. That's a big thing, right? Okay.
Yep.
Now, in addition to the advantage, what is the main advantage in your eyes of it being online, even when it's not COVID? Is it the fact that people don't need to go stand in line and make an appointment at a bank in order to choose the program?
I think this is kind of the big reason for it, because especially in the Nordic countries, mortgages, any other loans, they are growingly online. So you don't actually go and visit the bank anymore. So the current distribution method is going to be out of the market soon anyways.
So that example of the family taking insurance that they don't understand the details, how would what you're talking about solve that problem for them?
Because current bank salespeople who are selling this product face to face, they don't usually understand the product so well that they would be able to do a standard level of selling so that the customer always understands what they are buying. So that leads to unhappy customers, unrealistic expectations for the claims, and so on. So through the online sales channel, which is guided through different means, they will get a standardized level of sales process to kind of get clarity on the product.
Could you give me a very specific example of what is not so I think that I understand that the main advantage of what you're offering, if everybody does their banking and purchasing of their insurance online in Nordic countries anyway, for the most part, right? Then maybe the real advantage here is the personalization, right? Could you give me a concrete example of what is standard issue lifestyle insurance as opposed to personally customized to this family, and you can give that woman her name, right? What would be personalized, which you would offer, as opposed to standardized, which they're currently receiving through the bank?
As an example, Anna, who has project work, different work, she wouldn't get the insurance because all the current lifestyle protection insurances, they require a employment which is a long-term.
Being a salaried employee, so it doesn't even suit independent self-employed people?
Exactly.
Wow,
So
welcome to 2021.
Exactly. So here, there are a number of features that we're kind of disrupting for the lifestyle protection insurance market.
Great. So then you could go back to that story. So you could go back to that story as you're grabbing opening, but I would tell it in a few seconds, right? Okay. So Anna, who's 36, is a self-employed project manager, right? Who works on different projects. She and her husband are really happy that they purchased their home, and the online insurance, the online lifestyle insurance that they purchased, right? They thought, hey, online, quick and easy. And then COVID happened, and they discovered that the fine print that was hard to find implied that since she's self-employed, she's not eligible for any coverage. Anna and millions like her in Europe and the world deserve a clear, transparent solution to be able to choose customized. I think the word transparency here is important, and the word customized and personalized, right? Insurance, lifestyle insurance is very, there is something that they all deserve to receive. And that's precisely why we at, remind me of the name of your company, Neurans have developed a special offering for them. And here's what it is. Okay. So the problem, if you zero in on it, laser focus, takes a few seconds to explain, less than the first minute of the 5, right? You spend another, maybe the first minute is the problem and the shortcomings of the current solutions. And then the majority of your real estate, those 4 valuable minutes, are all about the brilliance of your solution, how it works, what stage you're at, why you're the right dream team for it, all the other elements. All right. So I would really, really shorten the beginning to that. Okay, additional things. There needs to be a very clear distinction between the problem and the solution. So when you say the product, some of the time it wasn't entirely clear. Are you talking about existing products or about your product? right? So
Okay.
instead of calling it the product, either use the name of your company, or after you talk about the problem at the beginning, then make a clear distinction that from now on, we're only talking about the solution. We're not talking about the existing at all. You don't want to go back and forth, because then it could be confusing to the audience that in a given instance is the example that you're giving about the existing solution or about your future solution. Okay, so there needs to be a clear distinction there. Anytime you show bullet points, I recommend in terms of animation to everybody, that's the one animation that I would use, is I would show them gradually. If you have 4 bullet points and you're going to talk very briefly about each of them, if you show all 4 of them right from the start, the audience's eyes are glued to them and they read them in succession. And in contrast, if you would like them to focus just on the competitive product, you show them the first competitive product, you speak about it as long as you need to within the allotted time. And then when you're done speaking about it, then you reveal the next bullet point. And that way you're basically taking the audience hand in hand and telling them, audience, now we're on to the next point. Okay. You want your title to be even more self-explanatory. Is digitalization and flexibility the advantage of your product? Is it what people are looking for? Is it that there's not enough of it in the existing solutions? You want somebody who looked at a text in their phone a few seconds before and missed your connecting sentence to be able to see this out of context and go, oh, okay, now Anna is explaining to us the advantages of our own products with regard to digitalization, or why consumers in Northern Europe are seeking better digitalization and flexibility in their insurance. So self-explanatory titles are a presenter's best friend in helping address the audience with clarity. All right, what else? So the relative division of the time between the problem and the solution.
Anu, is it making sense so far?
Absolutely. Really good feedback. Thank you.
Okay. When you speak about competitors, right? The purpose of speaking about competitors is not just to create a list of look at all these great companies that are there in the space, nor is it the opposite to knock them and say that they're all garbage. The purpose of a competitor's slide, and you can even change it in the title, is to show your unique advantage in comparison to them. So for example, if you're saying, and rather than listing these names, and I don't know whether the specific people in the audience know these companies or not, the purpose is to differentiate. The purpose of mapping yourself along a competitive landscape is to say, within the space of digital insurance products, there are the companies in bucket A who are offering it in person through the bank. There are the companies in bucket B who are offering it online, but it is an off-the-shelf product that is not at all customized, right? Bucket A, bucket B. We are creating an entirely new category, bucket C, online, personalized. Something like that, right?
Yeah.
We tend to see competitive landscapes, and this might be something for a future more developed stage of the company, but we tend to show competitive landscapes, like when you have an hour-long meeting with an investor, either as a table in which you list each one of the competitors on one axis, and you list the characteristics of the products that you can compare on the other axis, and all of them have some but don't have others, and yours is the only one that checks all the boxes. Right? That's the purpose of showing it in that format. Another way of showing it could be sometimes concentric circles and saying they offer A, they offer B, we offer the shaded part, both A and B. In your case, I think that what you're saying is these offer A, these offer B, we offer C, an entirely new category. Right?
Absolutely.
Or it might be an XY axis in which you want to be in the top right corner, most personalized, best value for money. That's also an option. Right?
Very good idea.
But rather than just showing the word competitors, you want to say, our company, the first personalized online lifestyle insurance. Okay, that's the purpose of competitors. With regard to team, same story. Rather than the generic word team, and this is for all of you, even before I've seen the other presentations, rather than the word team or most experienced team in Northern Europe, in what? So the purpose of showing a team slide most often, and again, they're not going to have time to read 4 lines of text in an in-person presentation when this slide is only going to be showing for a few seconds. So instead, underneath each of your names, I would have 1 line, maybe 2, that say your relative synergetic superpowers. What is it that the combination, the purpose of a team slide in a short pitch is to show not only do we have a great product, which is an excellent solution to a real product, but we are the dream team to make it happen. Because investors invest not only in a product or a company, they're investing in the people who run it. So most often the importance of showing the founding team is we are the right team to make this thing a great success because we have the combined knowledge between, in this case, say, your insurance expertise together with Kai's business expertise, right? So then the title could even be something like insurance and business experience in the service of online insurance, online personalized insurance. Something that, again, at a glance, tells us the superpowers, all right? That's the purpose of team. Current status. Nobody is going to read all of those bullet points. No offense. I know you worked hard to create them. Maybe you could send it to somebody when it was a situation in which they were going to patiently, over a cup of coffee, read it in their office. The best thing that you can do in a short pitch like this regarding status is the bottom line: how ripe are you for investment, right? So either you could show some of these points gradually in 2 words, right? Agreement with, I mean, if the meaning of the first point is you already have letters of agreement with big companies, that's great news to an investor. That's validation. That's proof of concept, right? So that's great. The fact that the product is designed, I don't know whether that is something that necessarily interests the investors right now. So it's great for you for your back office planning. But the question is that something that makes the cut of the top priority information within those 5 precious minutes? Is it something that needs to be included for the investor or not? So I would shorten all of these and either put them along a timeline. The more advanced the company becomes, the more you can put points along a horizontal timeline. In Q4 of 2020, we participated in Accelerator Frankfurt. In Q1 2021, we did this. And then those are the big headlines, first paying client, 10th paying client, major prize won, all of these great validation points that you can talk about. And it's a work in progress. These things always update over time. But again, the purpose right now for who it's for what it's for, is that you are indicating very quickly to an investor, here's how ripe we are for investment. Here's where we are in the process. Here's what we've already done, and here's our next step. And then in your call to action slide, which you did nicely, your next slide was the call to action already, right?
It was here. This part.
You said your call to action here? Okay, then I would have a separate call to action slide on which I would explicitly spell out, we are currently seeking X with which to do Y. And then the person in the audience listening who's interested in partnering with you because they see that this is going to catch like wildfire because it's an amazing idea that solves a real problem, right? Then they know how to follow up with you. So I would devote the last slide, rather than politely writing thank you or questions, I would have the last slide be the ask. Right? The title could be bringing the first online lifestyle insurance to Europe and the world, currently raising X amount of money with which we are going to, what are you going to do with that amount of money, right? And then you can say in your words without it being written there, and only your contact details would appear, if you, like us, believe that you could come full circle and go back to your grabbing opening story. If you, like us, believe that every Anna deserves to choose her own lifestyle insurance, right, to maintain the lifestyle of her family through thick and thin, in a way that is transparent, repeat those main values again: transparent, cost effective, and personalized. Come speak to us about it.
Okay, so combining the call to action maybe with this page.
I would lose the word thank you. You could say it in your words if you want to. I'm not sure that it's the best use of real estate to show it to people. I understand that that lovely polite Europeans have difficulty parting from the word thank you, and I appreciate that greatly. But I think that you would do best that what it is that they're looking at, and also for the purpose of clarity, instead of the beauty of the really small font, think big. Think big font, think making it really easy for somebody to see something, to jot it down. Yes, in this online reality, all they really need is your name and they can find you, or they can contact Ram and they can find you. But you just want to make it really, really clear for the specific medium.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very, very good comments and relevant comments. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Good luck.
Awesome. We're really just in time to go to the next presentation. Dafna, this was amazing. Anu, I recommend you listen again because there was so much information. So the good thing is that we have this posted, and you can listen to the recording again. Some key points I liked was really you're the first one to offer an online lifestyle protection insurance. Customized, transparent, great words to use, and online and personalized. So these are the words that Dafna highlighted, and definitely check them out that they appear in your presentation.
I would definitely buy your product, Anu. Tell me when it's available.
Exactly. Well, once we understand what the product is, we will all buy it. That's and we know it. We've been with you for a few weeks. Dafna just listened to it.
Absolutely.
Now. And Dafna's going to be like a few hundreds of investors that will listen to it the first time. So you need to take that into consideration. Okay, moving on. Hanna, what do you say? Excellent. You're on mute. While you're sharing the screen.
I think that's going to be the most ubiquitous phrase of 2020, of 2020 is going to be, you're on mute.
Totally. You're on mute.
It's
yes.
becoming a classic.
Okay, now you can see and hear me.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm Hanna Kekkonen. I'm a circular economy fanatic. So I'm really a strong believer on circular economy, and now we manage here to operationalize circular economy. So it's like a big buzzword at the moment, but you can really do it quite easily. It's easily to implement it. So welcome to Pillar. Pillar is giving waste a new life. So here you see a really nice photo, and I'm wondering if you see the treasure in this photo. So what could be the treasure here? So the treasure is definitely this high quality consumer high quality textile that you see here. Most of the companies, they are just burning their high quality waste, and they are not even aware of that their textiles are worth something. So this is really the story. So Pillar is really focusing now as a first step on textiles and helping companies to get value out of waste. So the textiles industry is extremely wasteful and polluting production system, and 85% of the textiles actually ends up in landfills, the textile waste. So here is really big opportunity to change things. So this is actually the thing. What you see here, this is actually a surface from textile waste, actually consumer textile waste. And when I turn it around, ooh, it's like well wet. So it's really nice. You just need to coat it. And the companies on the left actually have the granular textile, and they want to have it in this format. This is the second company can help with that. The third company can help with this coating to make it like velvet. So it's really easy thing to keep your material in life. You don't have to put it into the landfill. And we are now, what you just saw, it was the simulation of a platform. So Pillar is actually a platform, but it's much easier to understand the value when you start simulating what is it, what do the companies need. And I really learned fast that actually a lot of companies just need what the others have. So this, of course, we plan to offer in a platform, collect data and boost the customer experience with the help of recommendation engine. We have multiple monetization vehicles. So we have free of charge services, pay per use, and subscription. So this can be something you can experiment with once we have enough traction on the platform, what works best in a real startup modus. So here we have actually already a go-to-market idea. So waste management in general is big. Circular economy is really big, but we have actually managed to scope a little bit. We want to focus on Europe. So we have the Green Deal action plan, circular economy action plan. So companies are forced to go into circular economy. We start with textiles, and we can tell a lot of great sustainability stories for different brand owners. Of course, I'm coming from the chemical company, so what is really the secret here is the chemical know-how, because the chemical adds the value to this platform, because you need chemicals in the waste handling process to really get the value out of waste. So first, if you look at the competition, so Pilar is actually the first one-stop waste management platform. So we have here a lot of competition, but nobody is really looking at the whole waste value chain. So this is a great timing for this right now. We have some milestones. So this is now the phase 1. So we are developing the idea, and we want to found Pilar as a company, and this would be phase 2. And phase 3, that's when we scale and add the data monetization aspects into it. We have a great team for phase 1 here at Accelerator Frankfurt. It's with different kind of expertise, people working voluntarily, because as I said, circular economy is a real hype, and it's easy to find enthusiastic people to help out. For phase 2, of course, we have a really small team when this comes to real company. What do I need from you? Please join and accompany me on this Pilar journey, because sustainability cannot be solved alone from one company. It's actually about the collaboration and partnership with a lot of companies. And with your networks, of course, I just need you to connect to your network and look for companies that want to discover the value in their waste, who are curious to create a sustainability story, and also operationalize circular economy and not just talk about it. You get access to chemical innovation, and you get best of Germany and Nordics. Also, would love to have a mentor for the next phase, where we are doing the proof of concept. And 2023 onwards, of course, we are looking for a capital angel investor when we do the spin-off. So help me work full-time on Pilar. This really makes sense right now. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Hanna. Cool.
So it was 6 minutes, 45 seconds. Hanna.
Yeah, okay. So I have some suggestions of where you can cut down also. If you could actually go back to sharing, I can give you specific examples on your slides.
Oh, yeah,
Thank
sorry.
you very much.
Okay.
All right. So you're grabbing opening. And again, it's going to be without any kind of general background before you get straight to the grabbing opening with regard to, I would actually go straight into the problem. All right. So if your grabbing opening is showing us the person in the orange suit, right? If you could go back to that slide even, I would say that when you start your pitch, the first thing could be the person in the orange uniform, right? And you could even ask the question, right? So you could even, I would get rid of almost all the text on this slide, on almost all the slides. This would be a good version to send someone, because almost all of these slides are self-explanatory in the amount of text that they have on them, which is great if the purpose is, and the scenario is, a person sitting in her office reading this, that's great. But for the scenario in which you're presenting, all of this text creates a conflict for the person who's trying to listen to you, because they think, oh my gosh, I got to start reading really quick before Hanna switches to the next slide, and then I miss out. So on this slide, I would have almost nothing, maybe even just the full picture on the slide. And I love the question. I love the question, something like, do you see the treasure in this photo, right? In this case, it's not an interactive audience, so they're not going to call out that they see it, but you could then tell them, those uniforms that you see, I see them as treasure. Unfortunately, many companies see them as waste. And this is where we need data. We need the next slide, or maybe even superimposed huge stats, round numbers on top of this to say, each year in Europe or in Germany or in Helsinki or in a specific area that you're talking about, X amount of there, maybe it's these exactly. All right. So I would show them gradually. I would cut down on the amount of text. I would say something like, see, so I didn't even manage to take in this information because it's small here. It's super, super important. I would maybe add it on top of that first picture with the orange outfits. Something like
I think the main message, Hanna, here for you would be that 85% ends up in landfills.
Entirely. So not only 85%, but I would also, so is that 500 what kilotons in the ocean as microfiber? Yeah, okay. So I would totally emphasize that, and I would further speak about the price of it. This, obviously, and from an environmental perspective, talks about the environmental price. Add on the dollar or the euro price. What does this mean for those companies and for all of us, right? Obviously, the environmental angle is the one that you're taking on it, but because this is a business endeavor rather than a nonprofit, we need to talk to investors in terms of money that these companies are currently wasting, right? That then when you introduce the circular economy aspect, you're showing them how they could actually be saving money and making money on recycling these valuable textiles as raw material, if I understand correctly, which they would then receive, right? Would the companies that would be giving their used clothing receive money in return for it? They would.
Exactly.
So there's totally a financial benefit here. There's totally a financial benefit. So rather than wasting the amount of money that they waste on, if you're thinking mainly about uniforms in companies that provide their employees, right? If that's the industry that you're thinking of, the corporate, or not corporate, but the services sector in which they provide uniforms, right? I mean, if what you were showing us were people, right, working on behalf of municipalities in, right, that type of position in which they receive clothing as part of their job, that's great. All right. So if you're going to be focusing the entire time on textile, I would add textile right from the beginning, because when you said giving waste a new life, a lot of people's initial connotation for waste might be compost, garbage, food. And the fact that you're focusing specifically on textile, or even if textile is your first use case, I would use textile right from the start so that people know what we're talking about. And then if you want to say that textile is just your first use case scenario, but in the future you imagine that this type of circular economic model will be appropriate to apply to a variety of different raw materials and not just textile, I would use that at the very end. Because all of your examples, which are great, your entire example is consistently about textile, which is great and clear. So I would just add textile from the start, that rather than talking about giving waste a new life, which sounds like to many people might sound like any type of garbage, or specifically about food maybe, textile might not be the first thing that comes to mind for people. And if you want them to be focusing on textile, you can totally spell it out from the start. Okay? Anytime you do.
Do you think she's missing in the opening a bit of a story? Because last time, I think 2 weeks ago, when she pitched, she had a beautiful opening story which touched our hearts, because she's a mother as well, on the future of the world. And she didn't even define what circular economy is and how will that help the world become a better place. Do you think
so? A couple of options here. So a couple of options here for Hanna. So certainly a grabbing opening story is in some senses more captivating than just a data point, because it works on our hearts and not just our minds. However, it's also possible that you use the personal story that you want at a later point. It doesn't all have to be right at the grabbing opening. It's just a question of what's going to fit in those 5 minutes. So another alternative could be, I don't know what the story is that Ram is talking about. Hanna, would you like to very briefly tell me what it is? Is it your founding story of how you got into this field of circular economy and why you want to develop it?
Yeah.
Is that Hanna?
Yes. So yeah, I mean, I am a mother, and I would like that my kids have a future. It's quite simple. I mean, we have to do something, and when you see all this waste, why don't we use that as a raw material instead of virgin raw materials?
Okay, so you could even work it into the start in the following way. You could combine between the data point and that story point, okay? You could start with Do you see the treasure? Do you see the gold in this picture with the slide that you showed us, with a full slide with the picture of the clothes, right? Many companies and service providers see used uniforms as garbage that needs to be disposed of. I see it as the gold that if we find the systematic way of reusing it in circular economy, I see that as the long-term way of ensuring that my children have a healthy world to live in. I'm Hannah, and I want to tell you about Pillar, right? That kind of thing. And as a fellow mom, I thank you. I thank you for that. I have 4 kids and a kid-in-law of my own. Ram, since I've seen you, my oldest son got married.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. So
I have one question. So when I was talking to this guy who is making this coatings for this material waste, he told me that he's also looking for rubber tires because he needs that for pigments. So I'm just maybe
you're wondering whether to focus just on textile or all different raw materials, because some suppliers, some manufacturers need a combination of different raw materials, right?
Exactly.
So you could say something like textile. So you could use textiles as an example, and you could say right at the start when you show that picture of the uniforms, and textile are just one type of valuable raw materials. Think tires, think this, think that, right? That are currently just piling in landfills, and all of them are the golden raw materials that could serve to be the source for the sources for manufacturing products, right?
Yeah, because he said, I'm working with this textile and with this topic, and then he said, oh, I'm looking for pigments. It could be grass. I would get green pigments. We are using now tires. So it seems that it makes sense to have.
It does. So I would say textile, and that's just one example of many different types of raw materials that are one company's waste and another company's, that could even be part of the slogan. One company's waste is another company's golden raw materials, right? And all of us stand to benefit, humanity in the world stands to benefit from encouraging systemic use of circular economy in order to enable and facilitate and make a seamless process of one company's waste becoming another company's golden raw materials. It's win-win-win for everybody. It's win for the company. And that's why what I was going to suggest, that in order to explain circular economy, which you didn't really go into detail of, I would actually create a slide that has very, very clear, simple, large infographics in which you demonstrate what circular economy is. All right, I would just show company A has, this many tons of waste of, textile, of uniforms per year, sells it to, are they selling it through you, or are they selling it directly to, right, this one? I need this one a little bit more clear, because from this, it's not clear, who are you? What is it that you have? We don't understand from this picture what you have. We don't understand from this picture what you need, right? And we can't read the text because it's too small. And you showed us something, and the idea of holding up something is great. 3-dimensional is wonderful, but we didn't understand exactly what it is. Is that a recycled material that you created out of waste from another company?
Yes, this is waste out of consumer textile waste.
Beautiful, beautiful. That instead of I need, and I didn't know that I needed it, I would have a very clear infographic here that says, Company A's waste, with a picture or an infographic that shows the raw material, right? Company B's gold, the raw material that they need in order to produce whatever it is that they manufacture, right? And then stage C would be the win-win. Now, the question of the circularity of it is, it's not a dyadic relationship just between the two of them, right? It could be that company A, that's the more complex graphic that you showed later on with all different data points and all different arrows, right? Because it's not necessarily just between two companies. We have this, we sell it to them, right?
Yes,
it could be that company A, so maybe what you need to show us, instead of calling it a knowledge graph, maybe you need to show us a flow chart, and we can follow the raw material from one company, one concrete example. is all you can show in 5 minutes, and that's what will make it clear. If you started with the textile, go with a textile example. One company that their waste every year in uniforms is this many kilo of textile, right? Used textile. So they give their textile to whom, and what do they get in return for it? And who uses it to do what with it? And maybe they need a raw material of tires, which they get from an auto manufacturer that has, you know, used cars in a landfill, and now they can sell the tires. So who connects between all of these people? You?
That's the pillar, exactly.
Got it. All right. So then call yourself like a broker, or let's think of another metaphor or analogy. You know, what is another example of someone who is the central hub, like a train station, like the central station of a train system that you connect between? That's the first example that comes to my mind. Maybe there's something else. Who is a central entity that all of the coming and going comes back to the mothership, right? That you are the central spot which everything comes to and everything goes from, and you know how to do all the matchmaking between everybody that needs everything. Maybe it's like a kind of matchmaking, except that matchmaking, well, yeah, maybe it is a sort of matchmaking.
It is a way. Company A doesn't even know that their waste has value, and leave it up to us, leave it up to Pillar to figure the whole.
So then you know what? All we need is a very simple flow chart. All right. Stage A are the companies that have different types of waste. Stage B is Pillar, the magic black box of matchmaking between needs and wants. And stage C is Tinder for waste. Nice, Anu. Thank you. Yeah, exactly. That's what I meant by matchmaking, right? So category number 1 on the left, category A is companies waste, right? So give maybe 3 examples: textile, something, something. Stage B, each of them sends their waste or informs you, Pilar, that you've got this amount of this type of waste. You do your magic calculations, and they forward you 2 types of information. They tell you what they have, and they tell you what they need. And you do all the math, and then the result, right? Input, magic black box, output. Input, the waste and the needs of each of the companies who would partner with you. Stage 2, magic black box at Pillar, understanding who needs what and who can receive what from whom, right? Stage C, output, here's what you connect each of them, here's where they can receive the waste from the other company as their raw material. Did I understand correctly?
Yes, you
So just
understood
those
it
3.
correctly. I have been doing this matchmaking now manually, and it really makes sense. So they need things that the others have.
Perfect.
So I've been doing this now manually with the textile.
Perfect. So a 3-stage input, magic black box, output would totally make it clear for somebody hearing this for the first time. Now, in the previous slide, when you were showing us those samples with the images, in that small text, it said something like NovaFlex. Is that a product that you created? What is that?
So I work in BASF, that's a chemical company, and I have access to chemical innovation.
Is it anything to do with Pillar?
Yes, they actually want to have from this company Globe Hope. They are interested in doing some experiments with this high quality textile waste. They only have access to consumer.
But I find it confusing here. In just these 5 minutes, right? In just these 5 minutes, remember what I said to you guys at the beginning of our session, you want these investors to come away saying, wow, Hanna at Pillar is finding a way of creating seamless circular economy so that one company's waste becomes another company's gold, right? Hanna facilitates one company's waste becoming another company's gold. That's what Pillar does. That's what you want people to remember when they hear it at a glance. So working in additional information right now, I'm afraid might confuse them.
Yes.
That's my initial thought. All right. So you'll show the circular economy. The go-to-market strategy. Show me the go-to-market strategy thing again. Right. Our eye is attracted to the red. So I looked at out of scope, non-Europe, organic waste and consumers, and that's not what you wanted me to focus on. All right. There's a lot of information here. So if you want, what you want to tell us is, I'm going to focus first on Northern Europe and, you know, the Nordics and Portugal, right? then you could just write that. So then instead of all of this information and lots of colors and highlighter marker, and there's a lot of noise going on this slide, if the title instead of adds value because if the value is regional expertise across multiple types of waste, you know, turning companies' waste into gold, then that would be the title. Right? And then you could show gradually, we're going to focus first of all in our areas of geographic expertise, which are Northern and Western Europe. We will work with, you know, the first types of raw materials that we have expertise in are textiles, glass, plastics, and electronics. And the types of companies that we'll work with first of all, are these. All right?
Yeah.
That would be that.
Yeah.
I would talk about the chemical know-how when you're introducing the team, when you're talking about yourself. When you put the competitive landscape, guess what's missing from the competitive landscape? Oh, you are there. Oh, okay. It was just the lightest thing. I didn't see it at the beginning. You want it to be the most, you want it to be the most evident thing. Maybe circle it. You want pillar to be the most obvious thing rather than not necessarily the most obvious. Also, the text is beautiful, but it's a little bit small. So I'm wondering whether people understand what the difference is between requesting quotes and orders. So basically you're saying there are you're saying there are 5 main competitors that are in this space of helping companies take their waste and convert it into another company's gold for the purpose of environmental contribution and their own financial gain, right? Is that the space that all of these companies are in?
No, some are just offers collecting the waste, so pickup service where they just rent a small container and pick it up.
Okay, but I think that the message here, since some of the companies have those 3 characteristics and some of them have those 2, I would say, process as complex as circular economy, there is a necessity to have expertise and offer service in these 5 key areas. You need to be able to find and do the smart matchmaking, right? You need to be able to take these orders swiftly and effectively on an online platform. You need to be able to shortlist providers. You need to foster collaboration between everybody involved. And you need to be able to QA for the quality, right? You need to be able to control for the quality of, are you talking about in terms of meeting legal requirements of quality and of safety?
Yeah, so regulations that comes with the Green Deal, but also about being trustworthy. That
perfect. So just like we said to Anu about being the first, so you exactly used that title rightly. We will be the first one-stop shop. I totally agree with that. Not stop, but one-stop. Yeah, the first one-stop waste management platform entirely, which checks all of these 5 boxes. I agree with your choice. I would just make pillar even more salient. Now, with regard to the team, there's so much going on that I didn't know where to look first. So either I would show it gradually, I would show the different components. Your team slide? I would either show each one of the different areas. I know the good-looking pair at the bottom. I would either show each one of the pictures and areas gradually, or rather than having I understand the idea of the cogs in the wheel and working together as a system. But to the investors, I doubt that they would consider, for example, correct me, Ram, if you think otherwise, I'm not sure whether you want to consider mentors as part of your founding team, because that could also make it seem like the engineers and technology. It's not clear who is actually on board this thing in terms of actually the company. Does it mean that you're working by yourself and you have people in different areas that you can ask questions to, or?
Yeah, so in the ideation phase, we had a lot of really great supporters that have been voluntary on this journey with me, also to learn. But of course, for the founding phase, we have a, let's say, focused, much smaller team.
Okay, maybe so same thing that I said to Anu, a ton of text. All right, so you need to, and also nobody who's listening to a first 5-minute pitch, and I'm going to tell you this again when we get to the long-term goals, nobody's going to promise you right now that they'll be your angel investor in 2023 right now. It's fantastic that you're being strategic, and it's great that you've got a plan 2.5, 3 years in advance, but nobody's going to, right now, people are looking at right now. So the fact that you have long-term goals are great, but I think that right now you want to give them a snapshot of where you are in the process. Okay.
So Maria's sitting next to me. She's actually listening in.
Hey, Maria.
She suggested that Hanna, actually, many of the investors, they also are family offices. They have factories. They have businesses. So why not just invite anyone interested in making your business sustainable? Come and talk to me. So
that's one
invite
option.
clients, you
That's
know?
one option. Another way that you could shorten this call to action into the 3 main points. I don't know if I don't know relative to, it really goes back to the question of who's going to be in the audience, right? So if the audience is investors, I doubt that the investors are going to want to be your mentors. So I don't think that the first point of your call to action is relevant. Okay. So that would be relevant if you were going to be pitching at an event at which there were scientists and researchers and industrialists and all kinds of people who were looking to mentor startups. And then that would be a very appropriate call to action. But in this case, if these are investors, either you're looking for money right now or you're not looking for money right now in that regard, right? Or if, as Ram and Maria just suggested to you, if the question really is, if you too want to be involved in promoting systemic circular economy of raw materials from the industry, such that one company's waste becomes another company's gold, reach out to me. And then go see, maybe somebody will fund a pilot project for you. Maybe somebody would say, yes, I want to see you work with this company over 2021. Let's see how in Q1 you can take this amount, right? It seems to me to be ripe for like a pilot project, to take one company's waste for X amount of time and help them make money off of it while seeing how those raw materials become the gold of another company that you match made it with.
Yeah, that sounds really good. That would be really cool, yeah.
You're really cool.
No, she's amazing, Hanna, what she's doing within the big corporation.
Your bottom line, though, is not, no offense. Of course, we want you to have full-time work in Pillar, but that's not your call to action. This is not about you being able to have gainful full-time employment so that you can be self-employed and get Anu's insurance for your lifestyle. This is so that circular economy becomes a seamless, commonplace process for your children, mine, and our grandchildren, right? So the tagline at the bottom could be something like, exactly further to the point of, so if you two, instead of accompanying me on the Pillar journey, again, it's not you, it's you on behalf of this important mission that you're promoting, right? Which I see how passionate you are about it. So instead of all of these sub bullets and without a lot of text, I would have this slide have only things the size of your title, large and green, saying something like, we're launching this journey to make circular economy a norm, to make it a seamless process. If you want to see one company's waste become another company's gold, reach out. Pillar, think of a tagline, something like waste to value, just that in huge. I see it now in your bottom corner, right? Let's all turn, you could come full circle back to the story that you began with, right? Pillar, let's turn all the companies' waste to value. We all serve to benefit. We all stand to benefit from it.
Perfect. Yeah. I almost missed the waste to value part, but absolutely. I'd like to move on. I know it's very intense. We have only the 2 hours. We want to give also a fair share of time to the other two. Excellent, ladies. Dafna, really, I hope we don't exhaust you by the end of these 2 hours.
Oh no, I find this energizing.
Excellent, great. So next up, Miia. I'm asking Miia.
My pleasure. Dafna, you're like giving me so much energy. Like you're like this breeze of fresh air into the.
Thank you, dear. Thank you, dear. I only wish this could be in person. You can imagine how as we began our conversation, we do what we can to compensate online for the fact that we're not actually in the same room together. Wow, what is it with you people in gorgeous design? Is it in the water? What up with Scandinavia? And with Northern Europe, what is it? What do they put in your water with the gorgeous design?
Well, the water is very, very healthy here, I've heard.
That must be it. That must be it.
Okay, I'm starting the clock. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I hope that you can see my screen. Let me know if there is something odd about it. But we're here to talk about entertainment. So I'm here to introduce our startup called Eventual, and it's basically a crowd-led platform for event generation. And I will tell you more about it, what it is all about. But before that, few words about myself. So I'm the CEO and the founder of Eventual, and I would say that I'm an entrepreneur by nature. By the age of 10 years, I made it to the local news after finding my dance company back in those days. And I was working in that dance company as a promoter, performer, a sales and marketing person. And it was a good lesson learned. I'm not a performer. I belong to the behind the scenes. And ever since, I have walked a long journey from different projects. I have been hosting a TV show. I've been working as a promoter, done PR and marketing for several brands, and ended up working as a partner and director for Nordic's leading consultancy. And I built the B2C marketing communications department there. And this year I kind of like went back to my roots as an entrepreneur and found my own company. And here we are to tell you what is the purpose of my existence at the moment. So Anna was talking about the insurance industry, how traditional it is and conservative, and so is the event industry. If you're looking at it, that there lies a problem, that there's a disconnect between the demand and the supply in the events industry. Crowd has a very, very little influence. If you don't have a broad network, it's very difficult to influence the event scene. Like this guy here. So meet Fabio. He is familiar to Bradman, I know. So Fabio is desperate in this picture because he was back in 2015. He created this campaign, collected 1,000 musicians in Italy to play Foo Fighters Learning to Fly together as an attempt to get Foo Fighters to perform in Casena, Italy. And this attempt cost 50,000 euros for Fabio and the team. If he had Eventual platform in use, the cost for this activity would have been 10 euros. So Fabio is not the only one suffering in the event industry. There's also venues and promoters. Salla here, who is a booker for her venue, she doesn't want to take a risk of booking an act or a performer that doesn't sell. So she's taking the safe bet. And then Fabio is very, very dissatisfied because he wants to see Foo Fighters to perform in the local city, but he doesn't have the network or the resources to get them perform. Or then Trevor, who is an artist, and he cannot afford any surprises which might impact his income. And we believe at Eventual that performers especially, they need a fair income, and we want to secure that. We also want to secure that the consumers live their life to the fullest and get to experience everything possible, and also that the venues really flourish and they get the full nights. And now you might be wondering how the global pandemic is impacting the event industry. We all know that the event industry has taken a huge hit. And after this, most people will only attend events that has true value, and they provide an experimental feeling. And venues and suppliers, on the other hand, they will try to protect themselves from losing any revenue, while the agencies and event managers will try to ensure that they can avoid paying for an event that may never happen. So our solution, Eventual, is a crowd-led platform that allows people to influence what performers are throwing gigs in their local city. And this performer can be a musician, it can be a band, it can be a speaker, social media celebrity, or whatever interesting content that you can imagine. It can even be an artist performance or art performance. And at the moment, you can see the current model that really nurtures the risk. There's a lot of happening before the event actually takes place. So there's a sales and marketing activity before an event actually happens, and then it reaches the audience. And many times it might be the case that the audience is not interested in this event. So we flip this whole picture around and we let the crowd to start the campaign. And then it goes totally upside down, this whole model. And that way, the venues don't have to take a risk, acts will get paid, and people get more experiences. The global event industry is a huge business. It's growing annually by 10%. 2018, before the pandemic, the volume of the event industry was 1,100 billion. And by the year 2026, it is expected to grow enormously. So we think that we have a potential to take a fair share of this growth. And our go-to-market strategy, because my background is in PR and marketing communications, we rely on strongly on PR, because our platform is boosting the whole event industry and business for all the players. So we believe that it's the future is about collaboration. So we want to bring in all the actors of the market. So we are partnering up with associations in the event industry and with venues, creating partnerships together and let them use our platform for generating events. We want to collaborate with agencies and social media influencers and ambassadors. And the growth timeline shows here we have a pretty ambitious plans, and by 5 years of our existence we want to hit the 10 million user target. And we're launching in spring and start growing from there. At the moment, we're looking for collaborators globally, especially in Europe, advocates for our platform, and also possible investors. But there's a bunch of things that we need at the moment, but this is something that we're like looking for. And as a last picture, a reminder from Studio 54 that happened after the Watergate scandal. This was only in America, and it created a huge phenomena. And after this global pandemic, there is a huge demand for live experiences. And I think that everybody deserves to live life to the fullest, like the disco granny in the picture. So I invite you to our party. Thank you.
Woo! Okay, thank you very much. I'm sure
Just
that Ram will tell
before-
you that that was 8 minutes, right, Ram?
Yeah, it was 8 minutes and she got to the solution after 5 minutes.
Right. Yeah. We need to significantly cut down. There'll be different opportunities. There will be opportunities when you have 10 minutes, when you have a full hour to talk about it. And that looks very different from when you have only 5 minutes. Okay. So thank you for that. All right. Specific suggestions. Obviously, you're super confident and you have a very cool idea, and the slides are beautiful. Very specific suggestions. One place that you can cut down more than a minute is the opening. Okay, I would start with the words, I founded my first company at age 10. Because if you chose that the grabbing opening is not about the events world, but rather about your relevant experience in order to introduce yourself at that point, right? Then I would go straight to without I'm here and a few words about myself for all of you. You don't need to soften the drama of the grabbing opening. Think about your favorite TED Talk. They don't start with, okay, so let me start by telling you a few things about. They start with, when I was only 7 years old, it was already clear to me that, and we're like, whoa, what's going on here, right? That's a grabbing opening. So clearly you handed us on a platter, Miia, that your grabbing opening is, I was 10 years old when I founded my first company, right? And it was through my...
Watch my opening speech. I think it's on YouTube on demo day 4 or 5. And that's clearly coming from Dafna. You will see my first sentence when I walk on stage. That was so powerful, Dafna. Go
You
ahead.
did
Sorry.
it. It was yours. It was yours entirely. It was yours entirely.
Mm.
So Miia, so your grabbing opening is clearly, I founded my first company at 10, right? It was a dance company. And ever since then, for X number of years, you know, I have honed my skill of, you don't need to talk about your entire CV, even though it's very impressive points about being a TV host and a PR marketer and consultancy and B2B Marcom. I would just take it directly from age 10, founding your first company. And now I'm ready to harness, you know, and after X number of years in the space of organizing people, you know, of founding initiatives to promote causes that I strongly identify with, or making manifest in the world things that I feel are important, I'm ready to now harness those skill sets to advance a cause that is very close to my heart in the current and forward-looking reality. And that is how to make events that much more adapted to the real needs that all of us have as the consumers of the art, in order to make it right accessible to all of us, and get to support the, again, win-win, like in Hannah's circular win-win. In your case, the win-win is in order to enable the artists to make a gainful living, and at the same time for all of us consumers of art to benefit from getting access to the type of events that make our life amazing, that kind of thing, right? Because those are the two sides of it.
Dafna,
Okay.
do you think that it's relevant at all to tell about founder's background, or is it like, if you have 5 minutes, is it totally irrelevant to go into detail of my background? Do you think that
that's what I'm saying? I would draw a through line really quickly between your first company at 10, which is super cool and unique, straight to, and after X number of years in, I would give it one generalization sentence, you know, in initiating products, in marketing, in hosting, one sentence. And then, you know, I'm happy to now apply my skill set too. When you have an hour-long meeting, you know, and they're going to check your LinkedIn anyway in advance of it, right? But in the 5 minutes, the question is, what is the most important thing for you to say about yourself, so that they want to listen to you about the thing that you're talking about, to assert yourself as an expert in the domain, right? This is about domain expertise. I know what I'm talking about when I talk about online event platforms. That's what's most important that they know about you. Obviously, you're many fabulous things beyond that particular through line, but for the purpose of these 5 minutes, you can't really dedicate an entire minute of the 5 to that, because it doesn't leave you enough time to talk about the product and its advantages and where you are in the process. Now, what I wasn't entirely clear about, and this is really important, you gave 3 different examples of different users or different scenarios of people that have this problem, right? There was Fabio, but then there were 2 more. Are these 3 different problems and you solve all 3 of them?
Yes, so Salla has a venue and she works as a promoter, because many of the venue owners are also working as promoters.
Okay.
Fabio is the guy in the picture,
right.
the consumer, and Trevor is a performer. So this platform is basically like bringing everybody together and offering.
Okay, so this wasn't intuitive enough. It's beautiful. But people aren't going to have the time to read the small text underneath. And much as I love the personalization of Sala, Fabio, and Trevor, what we actually need is performers, venue owners, and consumers of art. That's what we need. Maybe their picture, maybe the picture of each one of them. And rather than the quote, what people can consume visually while they're listening to you, right, is a picture, and underneath it, the name of their type, of their persona, right? So picture and venue operator, picture and artist, picture and lover of concerts, right? So their problem is that they don't have financial security when they're planning an event and don't know if enough people are going to show up to cover the costs. His problem is that, you know, he really loves this artist, but it's so hard to get them to come to his city, and he can't personally mobilize 1,000 people in order to buy tickets. Her problem is that she'd love to have concert sales, but it's so difficult to work on her art at the same time that she's working on how she can figure out creating concerts, right? Which is precisely why I've launched Eventual, a company to solve this problem, and this problem by creating an online meeting place, right? In which, now I want to totally understand what I would skip this quote. It's beautiful, but it's in the swing of things, it's not your top priority for the 5 minutes.
Yeah,
something a little bit confusing. I love the systematicness of the fact that you have things numbered. However, at the beginning, when you showed number 1, I thought that you were going to say that there were several numbered problems. So the fact that number one is a problem, number two is a solution, feels like kind of an agenda or a table of contents, which would be more befitting of a written form than an online form. Because if we're looking at number two, we're trying to remember what was number one and how is one connected to two, connected to three. I love that it's systematic, but I feel like it's not necessarily the best way to convey what you're trying to convey to an in-person audience.
Right.
Okay. Right. So if this is, and I love the game with the design, with the periods that are breaking up words and sentences, super cool, super designed, very pretty, very clean, very aesthetic. So the issue of the numbers. So we need to, all right. Okay. Here, what I would do, if you're showing us, this is the before, if it's possible to create an animation, you were talking about flipping and reversing, actually show us a flip or a reverse, right? If right now we're looking at the way things are done currently, where the direction of the activity is from left to right, then I would actually show a reverse animation that shows, and what we're saying is, start with the people. Let's change the direction, have the whole arrow go from, instead of flowing left to right, have the whole thing now flow right to left. Right? And then not only will people who are reading in Hebrew or Arabic be delighted because we actually write Hebrew and Arabic from right to left, but rather it'll demonstrate the point that you're talking about, that here's what we flip. Right now, the end users are the last ones to know. And at best, they're offered tickets at a fixed price at a given date. We need to understand more though. What do you mean that it's crowd led? I need a bit more information about how is this actually going to work. Well, like, especially since you made a promise that it's going to be win-win-win for the artists and for the venue operators as well. If it's crowd-led, how does it solve the problem for the artist or for the venue?
Because also the venues and the artists, they can create campaigns. So it's basically the crowd is like whoever. It can be a performer, him or herself. It can be the venue to minimize the risk, and it can be you.
I'm getting a Kickstarter feel, right? Is it that kind of, that kind of analogy? Will this be the Kickstarter of events where anybody can launch a campaign, you know? So again, those three stakeholders, be it the excited fan, you know, the big fan of a certain band, or an owner of a venue, an operator of a venue, or an artist, right? Who can launch a campaign, and we've basically put into place everything that they need, just add water, right? It's a do-it-yourself campaign generator for, so if it's the artist, then I would walk people through an example, right? So if it's the artist, they can, so does the artist define, I want to perform in this city on this date? Who wants to come?
Yeah, so basically it can be like that. If you are an artist that like lives in Finland and you want to go to Rio de Janeiro for a travel, and then you want to throw a gig at the same time, then you can create a campaign and basically fund the gig so that then you can secure your trip there. Or it can be just a domestic artist that like lives in a different city. And
then I would just, in one sentence, I would walk us through the process for each one of these three, because if you're making three promises, we need to understand how it's going to work for all three. All right, so for the venue operator, it does this. For the artist, it does that. And for the excited fan, you know, for the general population art consumer, it would work like this, right? But I would actually show this, reverse the direction, whereas now it takes a combination of the venue person to launch an event and to promote it and to get the people and to hire the artist and to secure, you know, to put down payments, even if they don't know if the auditorium is actually going to be full of people or not, right? Here we're saying, but what still isn't entirely clear is, would the artist have to deliver on the promise of, I'm going to appear in Helsinki on this date, even if 5 people end up signing up for it?
No, there has to be a target, and we have different tiers.
So that's just like Kickstarter, right? So Kickstarter is a good analogy. There's a minimal viable, right? There's a minimal viable audience, which is the limit, that by date X, and that's the commitment, that if by date X, this many people commit to it, then they're in. It's very much Kickstarter. That's fantastic. So using these analogies is helpful because it shortens the explanation process. It helps people understand, oh, okay, a campaign, by a fixed date, this needs to happen, or the whole thing disappears. And then the people who committed to buying a ticket, if it doesn't happen, they don't pay. If it does happen, they do pay, you know, and everybody's happy, right?
It's exactly like that. Kickstarter is for things, we are for experiences.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Dafna, we're gonna, I'll put it at the bottom link once the platform is live, a campaign for bringing Dafna to Helsinki.
I can't wait.
We'll bring entrepreneurs together. They'll all commit up front. When we reach the threshold, you'll get your flight, your hotel, plus your fee, and
Woohoo!
bring you to Helsinki to
Perfect. I
help
can't
all
wait.
entrepreneurs pitch.
I can't
Ram,
wait.
Ram,
I
I
can't-
already started that. I
That's
invited
it.
Dafna to
Understood.
Helsinki.
Ah, very good.
I told Anu earlier, I was in Helsinki one day in 1992, and it was a Sunday, and it was the 75th Independence Day of Helsinki, so everything was closed.
Wow.
So I didn't really get to see anything, but it was beautiful. I was in Stockholm at the time. It was between high school and the army, and I had 4 months on my hands, and I was in Stockholm. And afterwards, I married into a Danish family, so I still have relatives in Copenhagen. So my heart is very much in Scandinavia. It's all good.
Amazing.
All right. So yeah, thank you. All right. So just to the end of Miia, so that we have plenty of time still to hear. We still have
Karla.
we still have Karla to hear from. Exactly. All right. So Miia. So yeah. So I would totally animate and reverse this slide. I so hope you're right about 2026. God bless you. But who even knows post-COVID what any market of events is going to be like? I'm really happy for you guys if you're all attending events. A lot of the world is in these lockdowns in which nobody can really imagine the landscape of what attending events in person is going to look like. So I don't know if I would make a promise right now about the size of the market, 5 years down the line. I also don't know that it's necessarily any investor that you're speaking to right now knows that in the best of times, the events market is a big and growing one. And that once things get back to normal post-COVID, people will very much want to get back together and attend events. I don't know that at this point in time, in this 5-minute pitch, that also might be something that you can cut out for the purpose of saving time.
Yeah.
Okay, on your go-to-market slide.
Hold on, Miia.
There is a huge potential also in virtual events, even though we are for the live event concept. But this platform can be utilized also for the virtual events, and there is a huge business opportunity in that too. So it's like
okay, but are you talking about that? Because if you're not talking about online events, that's confusing.
It's like events in general. So
then maybe towards the end, I would say we're geared towards specifically in-person events. However, we are aware that there is an existing and growing market for online events, and we're absolutely prepared to cater to those as well.
Right.
That's what I would do with that. Okay, on your go-to-market slide, I would leave only the large text. Much as it's beautiful and very handsome the way you've done it, I would lose the small text because we don't have time or the capacity to read it. I would leave the large categories and maybe even have them appear gradually at the rate that you explain them. And then for your sent version, when somebody asks you to send the pitch deck over, then you can leave it with the full text of explanation because you're talking about these points anyway.
Roger.
Regarding the timeline, something that was confusing beyond the question of who even knows what's going to be 5 years from now. I know that it's acceptable sometimes for startups to think 5 years ahead, but I don't know whether in a 5-minute preliminary early stage pitch. With regard to the grants, it's a little bit, are those grants you've already received?
Yes.
Wow. All right. So that's great. So I would actually, so maybe make the timeline, knowing whether you're going to have 120 employees, God willing, 5 years from now is more theoretical than saying, if you have a concrete plan for 2021 of how you're going to make this thing happen and your launch, maybe it would be more valuable to a potential investor to go into great detail of the 4 quarters of 2021, or even if you've been working on this for a year now, if you show 2020 and 2021 and show the 3 main achievements and validation points of 2020, such as participating in the accelerator, such as winning these grants, have you already had some sort of prototype, some sort of pilot project that you've done successfully? That's very valuable validation to an investor to say, I know it works. I know it works from the perspective of a consumer. I know it works from the perspective of an artist. I know it works from the perspective of an event venue. I think I would focus more on that and on concrete plans for what's going to very logically, even given COVID uncertainty, here's what we're looking at for 2021. Okay, and again, going back to the same point that we said to Hanna a few minutes ago, this particular audience are investors. So what do we want to tell these investors as the call to action? Do you know of a sum of money that you currently need with which you are going to develop your working prototype for the online platform? If so, I would state it. I would say I'm currently raising a round of X amount of money with which I'm going to hire a developer to create the online. Is there already a prototype of the online system? Is there nothing yet and you need to start from scratch, right? Something that gives a sense of where are you in the process in terms of ripeness.
Right.
All right. And I'm not sure what an advocate is in this regard.
Advocate, basically an ambassador, influencer, people who talk about our platform, people who could benefit from it.
Right, right. So again, I'm not sure that that's a relevant call to action to investors. You're right that on your social channels, that's totally something, and you should be posting right, left, and center when you're ready, when you want people to be sharing about it. But I'm not sure that it's part of your call to action to investors. So I would just sharpen, and instead of the thank you, and also this might be something that you could shorten significantly for the specific audience of investors. I agree, cool idea. It speaks to events. It speaks to thinking out of the box. It speaks to creativity. But instead of the words thank you, again, the bottom line to investors is, so if you too would like to see, events taking place around the world in a way that artists can make a decent, if we don't want our artists to be starving artists, but rather to be artists who can support their families and create their art for the pleasure of all of us, and for venue operators to have, thriving businesses with the venues, and for every one of us to know that we'll have the pleasure of attending the events that give us the quality of life that great culture does, reach out to me. Let's make this happen. That kind of thing.
Put in
Woohoo!
your
I wanna
email
see-
address.
I totally want to see all of your things happen.
Excellent. Terrific, Dafna. Great feedback for sure. I'm curious to see, Dafna, you should also join the demo day next week on Wednesday, December 16th at 1 p.m. CET. That's actually 2 p.m. Israel time, 2 p.m.
It's on my calendar already.
So you'll see the transformation, because these
I can't
ladies
wait.
are week on week, they really
They're badasses, I can tell.
absolutely. Great. So last but not least, Karla, take us away. Karla, you are on mute, I think. Can't hear you.
That's because I wasn't saying anything before. I just wanted to have the right setup. All right. Imagine you're applying for a visa and you get denied that visa. And as it turns out, the bot that has decided that in the background is racist, like it happened in the UK this year. Or you are applying for a loan and then you get denied this loan, or you get significantly lower money on the credit card, like it happened with the Apple Card, just because you're a female. Or you're applying for a job, and then again, there's a screening bot to help the recruiter, which decides that IT jobs are more for men instead for women. And you're shocked, and you're asking, why is this happening? And the answer very often is, well, it's the AI. We can't do anything. I think we can do something about it. This AI has been trained on biased data, and that's why it has harmed so many people and the businesses. And what this AI needs is bias-free data. And we want to enable data scientists to build bias-free AI models and unlock business opportunities for their companies. So let's look into the problem with data bias. Well, first of all, AI models amplify the bias so it becomes worse. And then if you're using biased data sets for training AI models, that results in software making misinformed recommendation, leading to worse business outcomes for you. And also, if these discriminatory practices become public, then you have reputation damage and also some fines. In fact, 9 out of 10 organizations said they were aware of at least one instance where an AI system had resulted in ethical issues. So here comes the solution. Bias-free data wants to make AI models more fair and unlock business opportunities by offering bias-free data sets. How do we do that? Well, we focus on transaction data. That means transfer money, apply for a job, return a package, get a loan, buy some products. All that is transaction data. because the whole world runs on that kind of data. And we provide companies with curated training sets so they can purchase that domain-specific, use case-specific bias-free data sets, so the AI models become bias-free as well. And we also want to increase the trust from the customers in your company, because we give you an AI model rating by testing your model and giving it like a Michelin star rating. Why do we actually do that? Because we believe technology should benefit us humans, both the consumers and the businesses, instead of holding us back. I'm a senior product manager currently at a global software as a service company. I have been among the top 10 finalists at RAM, a global LGBT+ leadership contest. I've completed also LGBT+ device diversity training. I'm a trained coach for people affected by anti-Semitism and discrimination. I won the pitch competition at Accesson 2020 with this product, and I'm currently applying with 3 different programs to carry this idea further in the next year. So let's look at the business model behind that. It's going to be a data commerce platform, including the model rating, meaning that there's a bias-free data set specific to domains, and of course the costs increase by the complexity and the volume of the data sets, and we can charge for updates. And we can also test and rate your AI model and give you a certificate, which will be valid for a certain amount of time. Let's look at our competition. In general, there are synthetic data startups who also claim to do some parts about bias. But if you really look at the product, it turns out to be very weak in that area. Then there are existing data marketplaces, and the quality of that data is completely unknown and no focus on making data bias-free either. And then I found 2 companies who at least claim as well to do something about bias, though the first one is more about production monitoring of AI models and not about the data. And the second one is more about fake news and doing that with the blockchain. And if you look at the worldwide market, the spending in AI will double in the next 4 years to 110 billion. And if you look at Europe, it will even triple from 7 billion last year to 21 billion in just the next 3 years. My go-to-market plan looks like this. We are currently at the end of the validation phase, and we will then try to find a pilot and also win a first paying client, and then scale rapidly and build partnerships internationally. So if you want to unlock AI business opportunities with us, please contact me.
Woo! Why did you let an experienced pitcher infiltrate into the early stage cohort?
I actually, that's why I left her for last.
Yeah, no coincidence.
But I think also the pitch order will be alphabetical, so I think she will anyway be last. So
that's fine. No worries, no worries. Wow, fantastic, Karla. Okay, thank you very much. Here would be my specific suggestions for you, which in the case of an advanced level pitcher like yourself, who obviously has already done this many times before, and you even attested to having won a competition. So now it's a matter of customizing per specific opportunity, right?
Actually, the competition she won just a couple weeks ago, so during the program.
Brilliant.
Nice.
So I would say that a lot of it, I wouldn't touch at all. I have very specific suggestions. For example, I loved your grabbing opening. What I would do is I would preface, okay, so the rest of us, that was a great example of how to start immediately with a grabbing opening. I would maybe preface those 3 examples with what do this, and this have in common, right? And then the answer to it is, in all of them, there's bias discrimination. In all of them, the recipient of service, right, was discriminated against on the basis of a bias. Fantastic. And and you also listened to how Karla finely sewed. Imagine a needle and thread. You saw the sewing, the fine stitchery of the connection between the sections of a pitch, right? There's never a situation in which suddenly we're like, how the heck did we get to that slide? It's one flows to the next, flows to the next. For everyone, I would recommend, when in doubt, how to connect between 2 of your slides, go with a rhetorical question. And what makes this a great opportunity? And what qualifies me to be the person to spearhead this effort? Okay, so I think that we saw some great examples that Karla used with that. How to, take us back to the how to. I think I want to ask you to consider creating a flow chart, a linear flow chart, not the go-to-market plan, a few slides back, the how are we going to do this? All right, the transaction data, the curated training sets, the AI model. Now, I don't know with regard to the specific investors that are going to be in the audience of this demo day next week, how many of them are well-versed in AI, right? And how many of them are your more run-of-the-mill people interested in the next best thing, the next big thing in finance. So for the purpose, it's not that you're going to go and explain what AI is. However, you know, for you, you wake up in the morning and with breakfast, it's totally obvious to you that AI is something that you train, a model, and it learns it and knows how to do it. I think that what would make it entirely evident to someone who is relatively newer-ish to the AI space, if you, rather than, and it's great, you saw how Karla used again and again, gradual appearance of points. Do you see what I meant about how that helps guide the audience to focus? Now we're on this point, now we're on that point, now we're on the next point. What I would do here is I would turn it into a linear flow chart. Again, that same thing that I suggested to Hanna before about input, magic black box, output. So for example, in this case, it would be companies that are seeking to hire would hire bias free in order to, in order to help train their computer system to do more bias free hiring of candidates for their company, right? For example. Okay, so then I would show that the first stage, the input is the company receives a trainer from you, right? That goes in and trains their existing data sets and shows them, does it highlight for them where there is bias and recommends to them how they could make it bias free?
Yeah, that's like one idea in the beginning. That's not really scalable because every data set is so different. So what we would do here is find open data sources or other data sources and then make those sets bias free by ourselves and sell them to companies. So the structure is at least the same. And then
but how does that help the company if they have their own data sets that they're using?
Yeah, that's the thing. So like I talked with many data scientists, and it's not scalable to go in every different company. That would be consulting if you do that and help it to make it bias free.
No, so but would it still achieve the purpose that you're out to achieve if, I don't know, a big credit card company, right? Back to your examples of the discrimination. If a big credit company declines someone credit on the basis of race or gender or anything, right? Nationality. And you're saying if we train their system on open source databases, right? How will that serve to prevent discrimination in their specific data set?
Yeah, because we take those open source data and make them bias free first, and then we sell them as bias free data sets. And
then why would they use that data set rather than their own?
Because, well, first of all, it doesn't mean that they have all the data readily available. Yes, they have their own data, but if they're looking, for example, into new areas, then they don't have that data in their business. They would have to either wait like a startup to accumulate data in that area if they build a new product, or they have to already now buy data. So there are
do companies currently buy a lot of data sets?
Yes, yeah.
Then that's something that you need to say. That's something that's obvious to you that the rest of us mortals don't know. So if it's common practice that big companies buy regularly, even if you had a stat about each year, huge global companies purchase, you know, $1 bajillion worth and $1 bajillion data points worth of data sets. And that's why. And do they buy open data sets, open source data sets?
I mean, there's open data sources and you can just go and collect it, but the problem is you have to pre-process them, so kind of clean them. You usually go to marketplaces and hope that these data sets are more cleaned up so you don't have the pre-processing.
So I think that point needs to be elaborated, because somebody who's not familiar with the data science and the AI world at all wouldn't necessarily know what problem you're solving for them here. We totally understand from the point of view of the consumer, right, how you're protecting those of us that would have otherwise been negatively impacted by bias, how you are helping encourage these companies to be much more fair and transparent in the way that they are analyzing candidates for different things. However, what we don't necessarily know is how do these companies currently operate in terms of processing their data, and how would what you're proposing fit in with how they tend to consume and process data already?
Would you then suggest like a before and after? So what they're currently doing?
Yes, exactly, exactly. Anytime we're offering a change, before and after is a great way of showing exactly where the points are, that unlike the way they currently do, right? Just like the flipping for Miia, right? If before it moved in this direction, we're actually going to take it in this direction. So you're saying, Karla, if currently they purchase data from here and it needs to be cleaned up this way, I'm suggesting that they take it from here and we'll clean it up. You know, if currently the meaning of cleaning data is removing irrelevant data points, for example, to make it more efficient to process so that it's a smaller data set, I don't know what else cleaning implies.
Often the structure. So sometimes labels are missing, or you have to kind of bring them in the same format if you have different sources. So that's a huge trouble for data scientists to just have them in one format, and then you can feed them into models.
Amazing. So introducing the newest, most just, welcome to 2021 form of cleaning up data. Now, to be truly clean, a data set is not only going to have to be full and, you know, uniform in language or whatever else it needs to be, it's also going to be bias free. We're introducing a new standard, right, in the intactness and the comprehensiveness of a data set. Now it also needs to meet, you know, non-biased. Now it needs to meet a fairness. We're creating a new standard in the quality of, when you talk about a data set being quality, if you really want it to be quality, just like practices in the real world, we're taking it online, that kind of thing. Making data, you know, fair, making data sets bias-free, cleaning up the data sets from bias. Great.
Yeah.
So that's what I would do there. Now, regarding the why slide, to me, the why slide, first of all, I would go with a much more specific title than why, but this feels like why Karla, right? This feels like this slide answers the question, why you? Why should you spearhead this effort? Which is totally legit. This is your team slide, right? But then I would specify it in the form of either I would add your picture to it, own it. You worked hard for this, right? I would shorten some of these data points. And I would say something like, are you a solopreneur? Are you the entire team at this point?
Currently, yeah.
You and your AI. So I would, you and your clones. I would add your picture and I would make the title something like, you know, remind me again the name of the company.
Data.
What?
Bias-free data.
Bias-free data. Bias-free data, semicolon, you know, led by, you know, combining a passion for this with deep knowledge in that. Okay. Something that implies that this is actually about you, even if you don't want to toot your own horn by saying why Karla is fabulous. I mean, Karla is fabulous, but I'm guessing that's not what you actually want the title of this slide to be, but something like, led by, you know, fusing a passion for, because precise data and justice can coexist, or because precise data can also be just data, or because unbiased data benefits us all. Maybe that's the point of your first, right? And I think that more and more people are, and companies, not only in younger generations, are becoming more and more interested in working with companies that share their values, right? And that feel like they're doing business with people who are fellow, and just like Hannah's point about environmental issues, right? And just like Mia's point about wanting people to be able to, all of you are touching on things that are very timely and very relevant to current consumers and current, right? People are looking to work in ways that they feel good about, in ways that they feel are aligned with their values. So that's totally what I would do here. I would cut down on some of the words. All of these are amazing things that you did, and they're all relevant. And the fact that you showed them gradually is great, and you're totally within the time. Although I think you're going to have to lend some of the time, for example, to explaining those points about AI that I suggested before in that flow chart, because you're taking totally for granted things that the rest of us don't necessarily know. So that's something that will be really important, so that they see the specific value in what you're suggesting. Okay. And the business model, show me the business model a sec. Right, that was totally clear. And then what did you end with? Right. Wait, one before that? Yeah, no, I would leave all of that entirely as is. And your final slide with your call to action was, Right. So are you currently raising funding? Does this imply that you're seeking investment? You're not seeking investment.
I need introductions, contacts, like business that want to start pilots with me.
Okay. All right. So again, in the case of this, so that's why I'm saying I want all of you to be able to develop the multiple lenses, right? You've got all different pairs of glasses for all different situations. So right now you're putting on your glasses for investors. So what you're going to pick and choose that makes the final cut of your 5 minutes, and for all of you, so that you know that what you're actually going to deliver fits strictly within 5 minutes, right? Which will not only make Ram really happy because then he'll keep with the timeline of the event next week. It'll also make sure that the investors stay awake for the duration of it. So if you really need to stay strictly to 5 minutes, the way that you'll know that your final pitch actually fits within 5 minutes is that within the very, very close time to now, day 2, 3, you're going to totally finalize it. And then you're going to practice it until everybody who knows you knows it by heart. You don't need to know it by heart. It can be a word here, a word there. All of you are super conversational, which is brilliant. You don't want to be AI replaceable. You're not looking for it to sound like you memorized it word for word or that you're reading off of a text. It's great that it's conversational, so much more engaging. What'll help you make sure that it actually fits within 5 minutes is practice. Practice, 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 and then you'll see for yourself with people. Say it to someone. If there's nobody else physically with you, say, set up a meeting with a friend or a family member online and pitch it to them and just let them listen to you just so that you're actually talking to a fellow human being. And then you can see what fits within 5 minutes and where you have those connector phrases that you like and the rate at which you're advancing the slides. All of you have beautiful slides. You're all very close. The good news is you're very, very close. The fact that there's a whole week until the event, you're all in great shape. You're all in great shape. You're all going to do Ram and Maria proud, and it's going to be a great event. And then the question of whether these particular investors who are attending this event are in fact the ones that you need or not, fine. It opens opportunities. If you fit neatly within their portfolio and they're currently ripe to invest in companies like yours and you're ripe for investment, great. If not, but you're getting on their radar because you're interesting to them and they want to follow it, great. And if they were so impressed by you and your idea that they want to tell somebody else about it, and the fact that the event is taking place, and the fact that you're a cohort of Accelerator Frankfurt, which means that you're tapping into Ram and Maria's amazing network of people in relevant business worlds in Europe and globally, right? You're getting on some really great radars. So you're winning no matter what, right? No matter what happens next week, you're making the most of that opportunity in order to increase your impact even further. All of you will post it, so people that you know will see it. It's all good. Good luck. Woohoo! I'm super excited for you.
Thank you so much.
Amazing, Dafna. Any questions to Dafna, ladies?
I actually
Go ahead.
How would you feel about that? Like you mentioned that the investors are looking into now, but if we already know that we're going to raise money maybe like next fall or by the end of the year, we don't know specifically when exactly. So how would you feel about that, us mentioning that we're looking for investors to create a relationship at the stage and then
that feels like a business question more than a messaging question. So I'm actually going to send it to you, Ram. What do you think?
No, you talk to investors like you need anybody that offers you money, always listen. And when you can raise money, raise it, because when times are hard and you need to raise, then it's really, really tough. So basically, what I want to say is, if you're inviting, okay, we are seeking for X amount of money, don't say we're seeking this next year. No, we're seeking X amount of money. What if you get it now? And you won't get it now because the negotiations will last probably 2 months at least, so you're already into next year. And you're already building a relationship with the investor. Karla, what if an owner of a big data company wants to invest in you? You take it because he has all the contacts, all the potential pilot clients. Are you going to tell him no? You know what I mean? This is he will want to invest. He will want to take a call, a side seat, see how you're doing, and introduce you to potential pilots. So that's and I've seen it many times when startups do say no, and when they really needed the money, they're like, "Aye, that was a mistake." Take the money when you're offered it. Of course, not for any conditions, but it's all negotiable. So start talking now, and also when you start talking, you'll be better ready to really talk to investors next year when you really need it.
I think that it like works a little bit like in PR, that you need to establish a relationship way before you need the coverage for your brand. That it's not helpful if when you are urgent in need to get your article out there tomorrow, then it doesn't help that then you call the journalist.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I'm sure you're right. Relationships, for sure, long term.
It's all about people. I always say that. It's the people's business. Very good. Any more questions? We can spare a minute or two.
And
You're
also,
all
I've
good?
already reached out to all four of you, or actually, I didn't find one of you on LinkedIn. Who did I not find? I reached out to all four of you. Maybe Hannah, do you not have a LinkedIn profile?
She
Yeah.
has.
You do?
I
Okay.
do
then
have,
I'll-
I reached out to you, Dafna. So you
Great,
have
you
an
reach out to me.
invitation
I
from
think I found everybody else and sent you invitations, but I totally invite you even between now and next week. If you have any further questions, feel free. I'd be happy to help.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I will also post, Dafna, your LinkedIn link on this video for anybody watching the video who'd like to connect with Dafna. I hope they don't overwhelm you, but go. I'll post
I'm
it
not
there.
easily overwhelmed.
I at least could see that.
And Dafna, I want to close it by just thank you so much for
My
taking the
pleasure.
time. I know you're a busy person. You're taking the time to help these entrepreneurs. It's online. It's always difficult for us to make ends meet, and you really are helping the accelerator so much.
My pleasure.
So thank you very much.
My pleasure. I only hope we can get together in person on either side of the Mediterranean in best health very soon. And I want to wish all of you and your families a very happy, healthy 2021.
Excellent. With that, we close the session today. And Tim, take us to commercial breaks.